How to apply for emergency travel documents. So, I am waiting for my EB3 process to go through. However, there was a situation in my family in December which required me to need travel documents, and so I am gonna walk you guys through that journey and how I went about it, the process, the cons, whatever. If you are South African, stick around because I'm gonna give you guys an extra tip that I would say applies to South Africans that could help you, because this could make or break your case. And I'm not gonna lie, it made my case so difficult, like really hard. So I'm just gonna explain it to you. Disclaimer, do not send me any of your paperwork asking me for legal advice. I am not a lawyer, a judge, a counselor, whatever. I am not. This is just purely my opinion on how the process went for me and like the steps. I'm just purely sharing the steps. So the first thing first is you're gonna have to call this number. I will put it on the screen. You would have to, it's like an 800 number. You would have to call it, and your goal from calling this number is to try speak to a consultant. It's gonna tell you press 1 to do this, press 2 to do this. I literally was just like, speak to a consultant, speak to a consultant, speak to a consultant, until I got to a consultant. When I got to a consultant, he picked up and he was like, hey, what's your social security number? Always have your social security number or your alien number on file, because they're gonna ask for it. They're gonna ask for your date of birth. They're gonna ask for your cell phone number and an email address. And so I gave them all that, and then he was like, why are you calling? Like, what's the purpose of the call? And so I stated that, hey, there's an emergency back home and I need to go home, so I'm trying to apply for emergency parole documents. And he was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna put you on a callback call. You should get a call within 24 hours to 72 hours. There. Now guys, make sure your phone is on loud, because I have my phone on silent and I missed the first call. I got up the next morning, I missed it by like 2 or 3 minutes. I was so irritated, but she left a message and she was like, hey, this is so and so calling. I'm calling to give you a callback call, that whole thing. I am gonna call you back within an hour from now, and if you don't pick up, you know, we're canceling the whole thing. So I was sitting with my phone like this. Wherever I went, I was like, the whole time it was on loud. I made sure I could see it. Finally, she called me back. When she called me back, she asked me like the same things the first guy asked me. What's my social security, alien number? She never asked for both. She always asked for either or. My cell phone number, email address, the purpose of the trip. I told her the purpose of the trip, and then she said, okay, cool. Do you have evidence or paperwork showing proof of it? And like, am I able basically to show why I need to go home? Like, am I able to show I'm related to the person and this whole thing? And I said, yes. Now, once again, if you're South African, you're gonna wanna stick around because I'm gonna tell y'all why. Anyway, so she said, okay, cool. I'm gonna send you an email with all the paperwork you need to bring and the letters and your appointment approval. I am gonna book an appointment, and then she would ask me, is this day better, this day, what time, that whole thing. And so she did all that. I got an appointment date. When I got an appointment date, in that email, it gave me the address of the immigration office that was like close to my house, that address. And then it gave me an appointment letter form. I needed to print that out because you can't enter the building without an appointment letter form. They need to see that you do have an appointment before you go through security. I needed to print out a form. It's an I-131 form. You print it out and you fill it in and you go with it on the day. I needed to get a passport pictures, but they have to be within the last 6 months. They don't take past 6 months because they want to see that you still look the same person, whatever, bad. And then in my passport, I needed to have enough time. I can't have a passport that's 6 months or less. If you get approved, you need to pay $575. But some people will ask for it, some people will not ask for it. I don't know why. I can't tell you, but just have it on hand. They take a credit cards, I think, and debit cards. They don't take cash and payment stamps and all. And then you needed to prove why you needed to go home. So like if it's a death certificate, if somebody's in hospital and they're dying, a letter from the doctor. Like you just needed to prove why you need to go home. And then you also have to prove how you're related to the person. So that happened, got my appointment, got on my paperwork, went in. You go in for the interview. They tell you to come in 15 minutes before the interview. I was just like, to be safe, I got there 30 minutes before. I went in at 11. My interview was only at 11:30. And when I got there, I went through security, all that stuff, that whole thing. It's literally like customs. Water doesn't go through. Just think of that. And then you go in, you stand, they stop you, you register, whatever, and then you sit down until your name gets called. And then when your name gets called, you go to like the officer's window and they ask you why you need to go home, why are you here, that whole thing. They ask you for all your documents, supporting documents, like passport pictures, like they just ask you for all those things. And when they ask you for those things, they want to see that you're not lying and saying you want to go home, that you are related to the person. And so for example, for me with my uncle, they wanted my mom's birth certificate and they wanted my grand's, then they wanted my mom's and my uncle's, and then they wanted mine. Now here's the problem. Remember when I told you South Africans that stick around because I have an extra thing? In South Africa, most older people like my mom and them, my grand, my uncles, their birth certificates, they don't even have birth certificates. I don't even know why I'm saying birth. They have IDs. And their IDs don't have their parents' names on. So here in America, for as long as I can remember, according to my host mom, they've always had birth certificates with their parents' details on. Because like my host mom and them have them, her mom has all of them, whatever. And so when I told them that, hey, my mom and them, but like they don't have birth certificates, they have IDs, and I don't know where they would go to find birth certificates. They were like, we can't take it by your word. We need like an actual document stating that, because the IDs don't have your parents' details on. So I was just like, ugh. So I had to come back, start the whole process again, speak to a counselor in South Africa, our state counselor, to write a letter explaining, have my mom's details, everything, the whole situation. And still they were like, we need proof. We need like an unabridged of yours and this whole thing. And so that's like the only tricky part, because to this day I'm like, if anything has happened to my mom, I don't know how I'd prove she's my mom, because well, I'm getting it unabridged this week. So I'm doing that for myself, but my mom doesn't have an ID or anything that states that my grand is her mom. So if anything happens to my grand, that's another thing. But I'm still trying to work out on that, but it still can get approved. So let me not make you think it can't get approved. But yeah, so that is the process. And then after that, you get approved on site. If you get your paperwork, you get it the same day you get it, the same day you can use it. You get 30 days max. You have to be back in the country by 30 days, meaning like you can't get in on the last day, 5 days before the last day be in the country. But yeah, this is the video. I am gonna do an unabridged. I'm actually going tomorrow to DC, so I will tell you guys how that process goes, and I'll give you guys the steps on that. But yeah, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know, have you guys done this process before? Have you guys gotten your travel documents? And then what process are you doing right now, or you waiting for? Bye.